Let's talk some more about we're going to talk some more about testing, unit testing in SwiftUI. So we have this right here, okay, and we finished up the the other unit tests, right? So basically the first unit test was basically to show you how you would go about mocking data. And again, I'm just going to do a quick review. Go back here to our acronym service, right? This is our acronym service. This is our mock acronym service. They both conform to service protocol. Okay. This is the fake data we're testing. Okay. And of course, we want to test, in these particular tests, we want to test that, yes, if we pass such and such, we'll get certain data in certain places, right? But I mean, for all practical intents and purposes, this is just giving you an idea of how you would test data. But how do you actually test the service? So you have to understand that in unit testing, especially with networking services, you aren't testing, you aren't going to test how well it does going over the internet, right? Because external factors control that, right? Um, but what you do want to test is your model. You want to test whether your model works. And why do you want to do this? Well, of course, you know it works if you put it in your app and it runs and you're able to send an HTTP request. Excuse me, sorry about that. Get out of there. Send an HTTP request and you get back your data, right? You know your model works, right? Here's the problem though, and this is the importance of unit testing and regression testing. Regression testing is basically as you go and you're developing your app, things change, right? Let's go to our model, right? At some point in time, I might need to add some functionality to these structs, right? Well, we want to make sure that we want to be able to, once we do our builds and everything works, we go through and test. It might seem like everything is working, but if we run tests, prior tests that test whether our model is doing its job, sometimes it might fail. That means we've broken something in the development process. Regression tests are tests that you run later on down the line to ensure that prior functionality was not broken by your new changes, by your new bug fixes or your new features. Okay. So, and if you're confused by what I mean by bug fixes and features, you have to go back and watch my videos that discuss GitHub. And I'm going to do some more videos where we talk about this in the big picture. Okay. So let's get down to it. So what I need to do now is what I want to do is let's talk about the type of data that I want. So we're going to go to our content view. And when you look at this functionality, this is not the way that you want to do it in the real world, right? I just wanted to get something working and kind of show you the fundamentals of what it would look like to test a networking service and make a mock networking service, right? But this is the real networking service. And again, because of this protocol, I can access this, right? Make mock networking service. And I can always test it, replace. See, and this is the power of protocols. This is the mock networking service. Okay, so, but we don't want to use this. We want to say make networking service. And yes, So we go ahead and we will do this. And pulling back real data. Okay. Now, another problem with this is in the real world, we're going to use a view model for the implementation. All of this stuff right here, networking service, stuff like this will be inside of our view model. We will not have our custom objects in here, right? All this will be in the view model. All this will be in the view model. But I mean, I don't want to get into view models here. Okay, that will be for another video. View models in SwiftUI. But right now, I'm trying to get you familiar with unit testing. And another thing too, right? So we have this acronyms. We're using custom objects here. What we want to do is we want to have a function that returns simply a list of strings. So we're going to parse, we don't want to parse through this, right? Looping through the acronyms, getting the LFS, and then getting the LF of each LFS, right? We don't want to do that. Let me go back here to our model. Where's the model? Where's the model? There, right? And that's kind of what we're doing. You see, networking service. So this kind of explains it, right? XM, right? And there is an array of LFS. Where is that? So an array of LF. Let me see, let me go back and see what I did. Just so again, we're going through our acronyms, right? Short form, get the LFS, and then get the array of LFs in there. Okay. Where are we? Right. As you can see right here, LFS, and we're getting the array in there. Right. So, excuse me. And so I'll show you how that's done. So what we need to do is let's go ahead and go back to our content view, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to refactor this. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of the acronym object, and we're going to create a function that loops through it and returns a list and populates that list in and create a list array of strings. We're going to call it list, and it's going to populate a list. We're going to place it here instead of this. Okay, so okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and let's go ahead and start. Let's get rid of some of this stuff, right? So I'm going to go up here, and I don't want, again, networking service is going to be in our view model, but for the sake of illustration, we're not going to have this view model. But what I really want to do is create a new object, and I want to call it utilities, and it will create stub data, right? And this is what we're going to use to mock our data. And what we need to do is we need to create a unit test to test whether our model is continuing to work. Okay, so as we develop our app, we need to find out if our model works. Okay, let's go ahead and create this. So I'm going to say group utility utilities, right? So I'm going to move this over here past this. Okay, and inside of utilities, I'm going to create another file, new file called stub data, right? STB DAT, and it's just data that we're going to use for stubbing, right? Basically presenting information kind of like in the format, close to the format that it would appear on the screen, right? Not in a not in a custom object. Okay, so what I want to do is, first of all, I want to create a struct, and I'm going to call stub, not stab, stub data instance, right? And in this, I'm going to create a static function, right? Static, not static function, static var, okay, or static let. Static let. We're gonna say example, example data, or example object, right? Okay, example object one. Actually, I'm not gonna use snake case. Let's do camel case. Okay, and this should be of type acronym object, right? Now we need to give it a value. So how I'm going to get the values, I'm going to do this. Check this out. Content view. And let's go ahead and right here where we're going to print our acronyms, right? So let's say, go back here, Excel, right? Boom. And this is, oh, actually, let me go ahead and clear this, right? I'm going to clear this. All right, come back here to this, and I'm gonna go here and Excel, right? And this is the data I want. This right here. Okay, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna copy this. And this is a copy of the data, right? Boom, right here, here, there. And as you can see, if I do a build, I'm not throwing any errors. Right? Command B. Okay, I did a command B. Where's my command B at? Okay, build succeeded. All right, so now this is our custom objects. Now I need a function that is going to take a custom object and turn it into something of type data struct. And what we're going to do is, once it's turned into data, this is our custom object. And it should be able, we should be able to take our model and decode it and get custom objects. The minute we can't, that means we've broken our model. Okay, which you can accidentally do as time goes on. Okay, again, when as time goes on and you're continuously making changes, having a test in there that you can run, you know, to make sure to test that all of the preceding functionality is still working. That is regression testing. Okay, static var JSON encoded, right? Okay, data. Okay, let me see something. JSON encoded data. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna say static var. Oh yeah. Sorry. Let stub equal, again, stub data, right? Dot example. Wait, what the heck? Stub data constants dot example object one, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and say let encoder equal JSON encoder object. Okay. And then we're going to write a do. Again, if you're confused about codable and decodable, I created tutorials on that. JSON data. Try encoder dot encode, right? And stub, right? So that's what this does. And I want to return JSON data, right? And of course, I must have a catch because this is new try catch, right? And fatal error. Fatal error, unable to encode struct. Okay, unable to encode. Unable to parse data. Unable to parse data. Okay. All right. So now we have this working, right? And what this is going to return, we call this, we're going to just return something of type data. And we need to create a test that will test it. Now, also what I'm going to do is this. We also want to access methods within other classes in our unit test, right? So in this case, we're going to access methods in the content view. In the real world, I want you to access methods in your view model. But for the sake of this, I mean, you're going to do it the same way, but we're doing this. So second. And so let's get down to business. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of acronym objects. Right here. And this should break things, right? Should break a lot of things. So I'm going to go here. And this should break right here. I'm going to comment this out for now. Right? That, right? I don't need this anymore. I'm going to comment that out. And eventually I'm going to come back and delete it. Get rid of that. And so also, yep. And of course, yeah. Let's see, get rid of, and this needs to get commented out. Let's see what else. Okay, so these right here, they're gonna throw errors regardless, unless I put something in there that does something, which I'm not. Okay, so now, actually, let me go ahead and do this. I'm gonna uncomment this and take this and put this right here, right? And so now, boom, and I shouldn't have any errors, and this will not do anything but write it to the screen. See, as you can see, things are being written to the console, right? But they are the entire object. We need to parse through this, right? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to create another wrapper at state wrapper for list, which is an array of string, right? Empty array of string. Okay, so we have this, right? And now when we whenever I hit this button, we call acronym fetch, and and whenever I do search and enter acronym fetch acronyms, fetch acronyms. So let's go down here to fetch acronyms. We have these functions where we're calling, and we get back our acronyms. We're printed to the screen in both of them. Let's go ahead and create another function. And this function, we're basically what this function is going to do is going to parse through all this stuff, right? I'm just going to say display list of acronyms, okay? Func display list of words, okay? Because they're not acronyms, they're words. Display list of words, okay? And ACR, okay, ONYM, object, right? Acronym object, okay, and then completion, right? At escaping, right? Okay. This, okay, right, and this should return list, right? And array of string, right? And that's how we do that. So here, do this, right? And I'm going to say, yeah, okay, so bar. You know what I'm saying? There's a type of string, right? Equals array, empty array. Okay. And then I'm gonna say if acronym list is not equal, is not empty, right? Right. Acronym object. So right here, what I'm passing here, if acronym object, okay, is empty. If it's not empty, okay, then I'm gonna say for acronym in acronym object, right? Once I go through that, then I will say for item in, okay, acronym dot LFS, right? And then I'm going to say local list dot append, right? Item dot LF, right? Then I'm going to come out of here, completion, right? Local list, right? Say else, completion, okay, an empty array of string. Oh, sorry, I did that wrong. Okay, again, right here, string, empty array of string. Okay, so that's what this function does. It goes through your acronym object and it gets that list that we have populating the list, our list view. I'm going to call it here. Okay, so let's call this right here. Okay, and we're going to do this. Check this out. Display list of words, right? Acronyms, completion, self, right? The class list equals list. We're going to do the same thing up here. Okay. Display list of words, acronyms, right? Self dot list equals list. Okay. Now we have this, right? And so when we go here, what we want to do is go ahead and populate this right here, okay? And we're going to do this right here, okay? We're going to say if, okay, list, right? That if it's not empty, right? If it's not empty, we're going to do what's in here, okay? We'll say list. We don't have to loop through a whole bunch of stuff. List, right? Comma, ID, colon, right? Backslash dot self, okay? Because this is not a custom object, it's a primitive, okay? Item in, right? Text, item. And that's it. And this should be enough to rewrite this functionality. Right? Boom. There we go. We wrote the functionality. Right? XM. Right. MX. All right. So now that we have this, so now that we have this, we need to go back over here. Okay. And let's go ahead and before we go back over here, I want you to remember. So now that we've refactored all of this and we have all this stuff working, this is what we're going to test. We're going to test this. Okay. And why are we going to test this? This is going to be what's this is what we're going to use to understand, or it's going to help us understand if our model is working. Not just that, but we're also going to have other, I'm going to have direct tests as to see whether our model is working. Okay. And this is going to be an example of how you access a method in this content view class. Now, remember, we're doing this in the content view class, but in the real world, in the professional world, your implementation, meaning your methods, your variables, your networking service, the logic, that is going to be done in a view model. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. Okay, yeah. So let's go over here and I'm gonna create another file, right? Unit test case, guys. I'm gonna call this we're gonna call this testing I don't know, ensuring model tests, ensure model integrity tests. Probably not the best name, but ensure model integrity tests. Okay. And so so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's get down to it. I'm going to create a var JSON data. Type data var expected model. Right. Oh, another thing too, what you want to do is you want to say at testable import, right, factory your project name. So it's important everything else in your project name. And I'm going to call this acronym object, right? I'm going to say var var decoder, DECODR, JSON decoder, right? Okay, right. Now let's go ahead and we're gonna say var content view. Because in this situation, I'm going to create an instance of the content view. But that's not how I'm gonna do things, right? So I'm gonna set up with error, right? And we're gonna say try, right? Try super set up with error. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say JSON data equals what? Data, right? Stub data dot JSON encoded, right? And this is of type data, right? And you know where this is from, right? What we did earlier. This is all of this, but it's encoded. Okay. So now that's how we set that up. And that's what the setup does. It initializes everything. Okay. Because we want this stuff to be created and tore down after every test. We don't want any extra crap getting in the way of our performance. Okay. Expected model, right? Equals acronym object. Okay, decoder equals JSON decoder, right? And content view equals content view. Okay. So now we have all that. Now what we need to do is tear down, right? Means we get all this stuff and get rid of it. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy this, C here, stop V, but I'm going to go back and nil all these NIL, right? NIL, right? NIL, right? And NIL. And this time instead of doing it before, I'm gonna do it after. Try super dot tear down with error. Okay, so now we have this tore down, and we can go ahead and run this again. Make sure that we aren't doing anything wrong, and Bill succeeded. And as we see right now, there are no red lines or nothing. Let's let this finish running and setting up. Man, this thing is taking forever. Okay, there we go. Test successful. Yeah, it's not really testing nothing. Let's get rid of this. We don't need that. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is let's go ahead and I'm going to create the first one, decode with model. So basically I'm just gonna test and see if this thing actually decodes. And if it decodes, there's an actual, is it the same as the as it was originally? So let me show you. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. Test decode data for model. Okay. Get rid of this. Let actual model, right, equal try decoder dot decode. Okay. And this should be acronym object dot self JSON data, right? This is JSON data is set up right here. Excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, and now we're just going to say XCT assert true, XCT assert equals, right? Actual model. And stub data constants, right? Constants dot example object one, which is right here. Okay. This is our stub data constants, example object one. This object right here. So basically we're testing, is this output going to be the same as this once we apply this model, right? That's what we're doing. Go back here. Is this the data going to be the same as this once we apply this model right here? Decodes, and let's see. And now we have a failure. Why? XCT assert equal. So this function requires that we conform to equatable, which what does that mean? So let's go back to our model, right? Go here. Where's our model? Right here. So what that means is that right now, this is not conforming to equatable. Again, I have tutorials discussing equatable, comparable, hashable, all of that. Equatable is a protocol that makes sure that you can compare this and see, hey, is this equal to this, right? Because right now there's no criteria. Primitives already conform to equatable, I think, for the most part, right? Numbers, letters, whatever. You want to make this, you say this. Equatable, this, equatable. And of course, this is going to this should throw an error. And okay, it's not throwing an error. It should throw an error. It's supposed to throw an error. Let me see, what the heck is this? Right. It should throw an error, right? Let me go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back. Bill succeeded. What the heck? All right, never mind. It conformed to equatable. Let me go back. I just want to show you guys something. So, I mean, I put this in there, but the reality is this. That conforms to equatable. This does not. You must go here, put this here. This is the proper way to ensure this conforms to equatable. Why? Because you need to compare this, right? And so what I want to do is just basically make sure that a property is equal to another property, right? Return LHS, the left-hand side, dot LFS equals LHS dot RFS, sorry, RHS dot LFS. This ensures that this is equatable, and of course, equatable here. And now, so yeah, I mean the other one passed, but yeah, if you want to actually practically make it equatable, and you can use whatever criteria, right? Whatever property criteria you want to make this equatable. Okay. Again, that's not making complete sense. You need to go back and watch my videos on equatable and comparable and applying protocols to your structs. It will explain it. But we're going here, no more error. Let's push this. And our test passed. This means that this model works. So if ever in the future we make some more changes to this struct, we're gonna run this in our regression test to make sure that we didn't break anything, right? All right, let's create one more test, and this test is going to access a property, okay? So let's do this, right? Let's see, test model, decode data for model one. That's what I'm gonna say. See, okay, decode data for model one. right? And I'm going to say, let's acronym object equal try decoder dot decode, right? Acronym object dot self, right? JSON data. Okay, we have that. Now we create an object of the content view, right? Content view, display list of words. Where does that come from? Huh? Comes from our content view. This is a method of the content view class. Okay. So acronym object, ACR acronym object right here, return list. And now, let's see. I'm gonna go here. Let me just see something for a second. We're gonna look at our stub data, right? XL is the name. Let's run a quick test real quick. Factory design XL. Was that right? XL was the what is the name of the XL, right? Return, right? Oh crap. Stop. Okay, XL right here, XL. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Right. So when I go back here and our stub data says that we have 6 items in it, well, that's what we're going to do. XCT, we're going to test. XCT assert equal, right? List dot count is equal to 6. Okay. Again, we're testing other ways to make sure that it decodes properly, right? If we put 7, it fails because it doesn't have 7 items, right? Build successfully, but this throws an error, right? Why? 6 is not equal to 7, right? So this should always be 6 as long as our test data is the same. Okay. So these are just examples of types of tests you can do. You can also test, you can also test if the third, the fourth element in your list is amyloidosis, or whatever, you can test the count, you can test for particular words, are they in the array? You can do all of that in your unit test, and all this does is make sure that your model is working with JSON decoder to decode correctly. Okay. Oh, this is the wrong one. Sorry. That's a different one. This is right. Is working with your model to decode correctly. So yes, so that's all I have for now for our, let's jump to definition. This is the method that we're testing, okay, to ensure that our thing is working. And another thing too is you want to be able to go open up your objects in your classes, your methods in your objects, and test those, right? Test those individually to make sure that you're not breaking anything as you continue your development process. Okay? So yeah, that's all for now. On to the next.